my senior year, I came across this quote that was very influential and monumental on me. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. And I was like, in high school, really concerned with like, oh gosh, people are noticing that I'm getting piercings. And I'm like, from wanting to hide myself away for many years in elementary to middle school, even up to like middle high school, all of a sudden there was like a switch and a flip that I was like, you know what? I want to be in that spotlight. I want to be me. I want to show this off.
Welcome to Pride Stories, the podcast, where we celebrate the entire spectrum of experiences that make up the LGBTQ plus community. I'm your host, Max Kringen, from Tellwell Story Co. and Studio. On this podcast, we're committed to creating a safe, supportive, and inspiring space for our guests and listeners alike. So join us as we explore the heartwarming, sometimes painful, and always inspired stories that make us who we are. Welcome to Pride Stories, the podcast, where we celebrate the entire spectrum of the LGBTQIA plus community. We believe that everybody has a story to share, and your story deserves to be told. I'm your host, Max Kringen from Tellwell Story Co. in Studio, and with me in studio today, I have Carter.
Hi.
Hi, Carter.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. I have been so looking forward to this conversation for like 2 weeks.
It's been a minute since I saw you last.
I want to start there and then we can go way back into our history.
Okay.
You were with us just a couple weeks ago and we did an episode of Pride Stories, the podcast, and you did it as Honeybee.
Yeah.
Your drag persona. Mm-hmm. And then just like
the day afterwards,
a day later, I got a message that was like, hey, what do you think if I did it as my boy self? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I want to start there.
Yeah.
And why?
First of all, disclaimer, Max told me we could reshoot, so I'm not
I'm happy to do it.
It was literally on my way back home and I was like, I just don't know if that's going to read the way that I want to present myself. Mm. And thinking about it more in depthly, if we're doing like a pride story about this, and if I'm presenting a character while doing a personable, in quotation, like podcast, it didn't really like 1 + 1 wasn't adding up for me. So I asked my partner and I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And Taylor was like, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because you're a lot more personable when I'm on a drag. So I just wanted to reshoot it and give a little more personable tale for it.
So I want to take that a step further because I think that there's this interesting thing that happens in drag where we present ourselves, where we have like you're forced into a character.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think what happens a lot is, you know, if drag doesn't mimic life, I don't know what does. And as we are smack dab in the middle of June, we're in the middle of Pride Month for whoever is listening to this and whenever they're listening to it, that idea of having to be somebody that you're not or be more comfortable by not having to be yourself is really like an interesting challenge that we face in the LGBTQIA plus community. So I was just wondering, can you unpack that?
Yeah, let's unpack it a little bit. So I guarantee if you went back and watched that video and listened to the podcast of like what it would have been versus like what this is going to be right now, probably even right now, you notice a difference in like my tonality and my voice. Mm-hmm. It's not like really high pitched and like we're doing this, you know, it's more like this is me in my daily life. And while it's fun to be drag, I am not Honey all the time. I love being her. People hate when I'm her. But I love being her, but I don't want to be her all the time. You know what I mean? Which actually, it's so fun too when we talk about like gender expression and gender identity. When I told my parents I was going to do a drag show for the first time, they were both super supportive. They're like, yeah, let's do it. Came to my attention later on that my dad was like really, really struggling with it. And he was just like, so does like Carter want to be a girl and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, oh, absolutely not. So when we talk about like characterization of a person like Honey as a character versus like who I am and just like my daily life, there's a very, very big difference.
So I want to rewind way, way, way back because Carter is one of my gabies.
Mm-hmm. I've known Max for, I think this year, probably like 14, 15 years, which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, so I was the state director of an organization called Destination Imagination when Carter was a participant in it. A very successful participant who got all the way to global finals several times. But take us back. Introduce us to baby Carter and even teenage Carter.
Oh my goodness, flashbacks. Let's see. So DI, or Destination Imagination, when I was in it, I started in 4th grade, and I think I finished. I don't think I did it my senior year, but I did it my junior year, I'm pretty sure. But essentially, it was just like another organization for me to be a part of, to like see like-minded individuals and like who I saw running around in the school. And I went to a very small school. So like when you got to be grouped up with the people that you were most similar to, maybe not exactly, but you like aligned to the most, it's really nice. You feel like you can be yourself a little bit more. And as a queer kid in a small town, North Dakota, it makes a very, very big difference. I feel like I was more social at that point. I still like secluded myself away from the world a lot, but like for the most part, I was very social with those people.
What was it like growing up in small town North Dakota? And I believe like, because you came out in high school, you were the only gay kid in your school.
It would have been
not like your school's pretty gay actually, but like
no.
The only one out.
We'll talk about that later, because there's a lot of people that came out afterwards, which I'm just like, who? Anyway, we'll touch base on that. Growing up, I became gay. I came out between my 8th and my 9th grade year. I don't remember what year that was, but I feel like I have been out for like 12 years at this point. I want to say I got my tenure in it, so that's good. But growing up gay, there was nobody like me. I didn't see anybody like me. I tend to stay to my video games and my video games. So I played a lot of Pokemon growing up, and I still do love it very much too. It's a great escape. But growing up, that's all I did. I kind of disregarded to what anybody really thought of me. I still heard it and I still knew it was going on, but I was like, you know what? If I'm playing this Pokemon game, they can't get me. So I'm just going to go back there and play that. So I say I wasn't bullied a lot growing up. I probably just didn't hear a majority of it because I didn't want to seek it out and I didn't want to hear it. So played a lot of video games. I did a lot of art. So I was in painting and drawing and all that stuff on there. I did like in elementary, middle school, did like summer classes for art. I went to international music camp for art for a couple of years too. So, and heck, on top of that, I went to MSUM for 2 years for art as well. So like, I really, really enjoyed being creative, in which drag allows me to do that now. But yeah, I think I just like drew a lot. I like to disappear in that into like a different fantasy realm, if you will. So like Pokemon, again, a great example for it. Like that's just like a completely different universe, right? And like nobody really cares who's who in that universe. You know, you're just like, you do this and you're okay, that's fine, you know? So I kind of, in a sense, wish that my life were like video games where I could just like go into this completely separate world and this separate universe and just like do what I do there. And just like escape from the reality of the world.
Which I think you do a little bit in your drag persona.
I absolutely do that in my drag persona too, which is like why I think it ties in so nicely. Because even from last time when we talked and like we touched base on this a little bit, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So in drag, the reason I started doing drag, I at the time was not in a good relationship. And I had an opportunity at the local campus to do like the drag show, Steers and Queers, I believe is what it was called. And you can find photos on MSUM's website of Kitty's first show. And she looked a mess, but it was fun.
I'm sorry. Can we go back here for a second? Did you say Kitty?
Yeah, my first drag name was not Honey.
What was your first drag name?
I told this to you last time and I was like so gooped. It was Kitty Defoe. That is not, if you've seen a picture of Honey, and I hope we can post a picture of Honey on there too.
We absolutely can.
You chat in the comments. Do you think that she looks like a kitty? Absolutely not. No, not at all.
Not at all.
But yeah, I got to do drag at the show. So I did drag and I really, really enjoyed it. But it gave me an opportunity to step out of Carter for a little bit and like step into somebody else's shoes where like I didn't have to worry about all of Carter's problems. All I had to worry about that night was how long is this going to take my makeup? You know what I mean? Because when I first started it was like 5 hours, which is insane.
And if I remember correctly, Carter almost exclusively wore Converse. Didn't you?
Growing up?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So he went from like Converse to 6-inch heels.
4-inch?
4-inch. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm not stomping on any kitten heels. I'm not doing that.
Kitten heels. 4 inches is a lot. Anyway,
I digress.
Carter, you'd mentioned like in the beginning, your dad's experience with like understanding what is drag and what is this new thing that my son is into. And I'm wondering if you can kind of like take us back to that, but also a little bit like reveal behind the curtain. I know you and your parents well enough that like I know that you have a great relationship with them today. But that was a work in progress.
Yeah, I would say like today, this age, this era of Carter, I have a great relationship with my parents. I feel like in a family sense of growing up around the time when I came out, I really was like, I had it in my head that my dad and my brother did not want to be like associated with me for whatever stupid reason. In my head, I thought that, but I was like, oh, I'm gay, they're straight. Like that's not going to mix very well. Right. So I distanced myself quite a bit from having a relationship with them because of like my preconceived notion without actually like talking to them about it. So,
well, okay, let's validate that preconceived notion just a little bit, because your brother and my brother are very similar parallels to you and I, where like we were like the artsy kids, we were the speech kids, we were the destination imagination and theater kids, right? And our brothers were both very successful athletes. And we heard locker room talk, right? Because I don't know if Central Cast was like, no,
I never heard locker room talk. You kidding me? I wish I heard locker room talk. You kidding me?
Stop. I mean, I don't know. That sounds really weird to say now because, but yeah, like I mean, even like from gym class and stuff, right? You heard some of the negative language that came out,
yes,
and
absolutely,
and those like stereotypes of adolescent boys using really like derogatory language is not like a stereotype unfounded, right?
No.
And so it's not crazy that you thought that would be both your brother and even your dad being like a small town guy just like my dad.
And even like I can never recall a time, a place, a date or whatever that my brother or my dad ever said any slur towards me, any vulgarity, nothing of the sorts. You know what I mean? So just to put that out there.
Same with mine. Yeah. Same with mine. Great little asterisk.
Thanks,
so
Dad.
No, they didn't. But those are real things and real assumptions of the towns that we grew up in.
Yeah. So like growing up with that in my head, I'm like, oh, they don't want to have a relationship with me. So like I just like I did to a lot of other people, it's just like I would escape to my own little world and wouldn't have to deal with anything. So but growing up in my adult life, I'd have conversations with my parents about this. My mom has specifically told me that she loves having adult children because of like the just like adult conversations you can have and like the humor and everything on there too. But as an adult, me as a queer man being so open and genuine about my life makes my relationship with my parents so much stronger. It makes my relationship with my brother so much stronger. And like, I feel like working on a relationship with my brother too, but like, it's a lot better than what it was.
What are the steps that you've taken to improve that relationship?
What I've done in my relationships I feel like it's different from my brother and my dad. So I feel like with my dad, it's like actively trying to have a conversation I feel like with my dad, it's actively trying to better the relationship instead of just like, it is what it is, you know, because if I never work towards it, I'm not going to achieve what I want out of it.
As you just think about like the conversation that we're having today versus the conversation that we had as Honey, you get to be your real self. You get to be your authentic self.
Yeah.
You don't have to play a part. And I think that is sometimes the hardest thing.
It's vulnerability
that we do.
And like, I don't mind talking about myself very much. Like the things that I've gone through, the struggles that I've gone through, so I can like help other people get through it and be like, hey, I'm here for support if you need it. But I don't know. I feel like part of this, like I definitely have not had a conversation like about any of this to my dad. So like the part of saying it here live in the podcast and like knowing he's going to listen to it. And even stuff now that goes on in my personal life, like talking to my family about it, it's like, it's real shit. It's hard shit, but it's like, that's my story and I want you to be involved. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, my whole body's shaking right now. It's so weird. One thing I always tell my clients is when they're feeling like too much, is just like breathe. Best thing you can do for yourself is breathe.
We do 3 deep breaths.
Yeah. And as an adult, I'm excited to share more in-depth parts of my life with my family. Part of it's really scary. They're not going to be like upset with you or disappointed. I mean, they might be a little disappointed, but they're always going to be there for love and support, which is definitely a big thing for me. I feel like in my life, I am a big pillar of support for a lot of people, a lot of individuals, communities, just whatever the case is. And so oftentimes, as I am that big pillar of support, it's nice to know that like with friends and like chosen family and my family and everything. Like it's nice to let the walls down and like be able to lean on other people for that, especially when it's been like for such a long time that I feel like I was never able to do that like with other people. I felt like I always had to be that big pillar of support,
Not to put on my dime store psychology hat, but it's childhood trauma, right? Kind of bubbling up. I think one thing that I'm so impressed by with you is your ability and your drive to make change as well, right? Like I think one thing that I've seen, and one thing that you were just talking about, was the relationship with your dad and your brother is because you put in the work.
Yeah.
You put in the effort.
Yeah.
You put it right. You sought them out as much or probably more than they sought you out. And I think one of the sad things about our community is how quickly we give up on our parents. We give up on our friends. We give up on those that like don't exactly see us the first time that I'm going to say present our new selves, because like the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is like two things can be true at once, right? You can be mourning the loss of this thing that you thought somebody was or somebody was going to become, while also being excited and delighted at them being their truest, authentic self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about like mourning the loss of what you think somebody is versus like being very happy about who they are going to be. Yeah, I feel like from the perspective of like a parent or a brother, I think is what you're kind of getting at from that. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. But it's at the same time, the difference between like me before I came out and me after I came out, what honestly was the difference? Aside from like maybe being a little like freer and a little bit lighter, but I was still playing my video games. I was still drawing my art. I was still listening to the very bad radio music that was on at the time.
So Carter, you are always driven to do new things, try new things, go out on a ledge for something that you believe in. And that's really translated into your life as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, like, what does Carter do today? Like, hopefully the tens of people that are listening will
there is more
out.
Than tens of people that listen to this, Max. You have a bigger following. It's in the 20s.
It's in the 20s. Thank you very much.
So I was actually thinking about this on my way here. I was like, how am I going to introduce myself? And it's funny that we talk about change a little bit, because I identify myself with the air nomads of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And what is the Air Nation but nothing but ebb and flow and change? You go with the flow, you flow with it. And like, where is that going to take you? So it's funny to talk about change earlier, but I am a professional body piercer. I've been working as a piercer for the last 6 years. I first started getting piercings in high school after I turned 18. And I was like, I got my lobes. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. Then I got my septum, and then I got my lobes, and then I got my tragus, and then my rook, and then my helix, then my other helix, and my other tragus, and my conch. And it just like snowballed downhill, right?
Excuse you.
It said conch. That is a part of the ear, Max.
I was like, ma'am, we're going to bleep that out.
You're getting an anatomy
I don't
lesson.
actually know like anything you said except septum.
Yeah. So just I got all the different things in my ear. I can see it right now. My ears are decked out. I have 30 some piercings right now. But anyway, back when I was in high school, I was getting these piercings, and I remember a lot of judgment that came from getting these piercings. And I was like, so just like baffled by it. I was friends with the known pothead in high school, and we hung out a lot, but I had a mutual teacher ask her if I was on drugs because I was getting piercings. And I was like, oh, bam. First of all, you are asking the wrong person about that. But yeah, no, and it's so strange that it was like something so out of the blue, out of the ordinary. Like I'm getting my piercings as a male in this like really small, the small town. So I think it's really interesting talking about the piercings as well, because my senior year, I came across this quote that was very influential and monumental on me. And I'll say it right now. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. It's by George Adair. I don't know who he is. But I came across this quote, and I was like, in high school, really concerned with like, oh gosh, people are noticing that I'm getting piercings. And I'm like from wanting to hide myself away for many years in elementary to middle school, even up to like middle high school, all of a sudden there was like a switch and a flip that I was like, you know what? I want to be in that spotlight. I want to be me. I want to show this off. So it was interesting and difficult when people were like whispering about me because I was so not used to that. But anyway, I came across this quote and I was like, oh no, that's like really, really true. Everything that I want for these piercings, I want to get these piercings. I want to look badass. I want to look fun. I want to be me. And even now, as I apply that to not only getting my piercings and getting my tattoos, but doing drag, starting my video game streaming, you know, anything that I'm doing. And I'm like, I want to do it. So why am I going to prevent myself from doing something that I want to do? All because of judgment of other people? That doesn't make sense to me, especially not as a 27-year-old now. It makes no sense to me. Why would I stop what I want to do just because somebody says that they don't like it? Well, if you don't like it, look away. Flip the channel. You don't have to watch.
So for you, piercings were far beyond just cosmetic. It really did.
Yeah. I mean, now
open up a whole new side of you that allowed you to be a freer, more authentic version of yourself.
Now that we verbalize it in such a way like this, no, it really did. It really, really did. Which also in turn allowed me to be like more social with people. I think that's the one thing that like piercings and tattoos, like people, it's like a double-edged sword. People like to get the tattoos because they want to be like different, which is totally fine. I'm the same way, but in the same breath, like that opens up like such a conversation for people to be like, oh my God, I want to talk about your tattoos.
It's a community.
And for the people that don't like to talk to people and they're getting tattoos, you're going to get that question asked.
Yeah.
But it is a really big community. You know, I found a lot of home and familiarity in the piercing, tattoo, and body modification industry. I have a work wife. His name's Nate. Hi, Nate. I hope you're listening to this. But he's just like my favorite in the shop. Every time if I personally have a struggle with something, I know I can talk to him and I know he can like give some solid advice and be like, I think you're doing great, or do you need help, or whatever the case is on there. So. And even with drag, it's the same thing too. You know, it's community. My best friend, Cyber Soda, she's going to love the attention on this podcast. She's kind of the same way. We got to know each other when we first started drag in Fargo 2018. So it's 6 years now. 6 years she's been a pain in my ass.
Oh, that's love right there.
That's love right there,
that's
yes. Love. But she's the same way, you know, we're kind of like a pillar for each other. You know, if I am going through something, she's able to help me. I've got a lot happen to me this year, unfortunately, and she's been there for all of it.
For those that don't know, can you paint the scene for what the Fargo drag scene is in 2024 in Fargo?
The drag scene in 2020. Whoa.
2020.
We are in the future.
We're in the future.
We're really in the future. That's where Cyber's from. She's from the future. The drag scene, Fargo 2024. There is a lot of entertainers in town, and it's great. It's diverse. There's a lot of people. There's people that are doing shows as like theater shows, which is really fun. There are people such like me and Cyber that we're kind of like branching out and creating what's going to be called the Cyber Hive. We're kind of in the process of it right now, but doing shows and just like a collection of all of our artistic ideas and everything on there. We have FM Drag. They do monthly, if not 2 times a month, shows at the local VFW downtown, which is interesting to have the VFW synonymous with drag, but they fought for everyone's freedom.
You're damn right.
Damn right.
Damn right.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of different drag in town. And I love that. There's just people reaching out to do different shows, and there's like bringing people in from like the cities or from like Sioux Falls or whatever the case is on there. So,
which is actually a really significant departure from where it was just a few years ago when you said you started in 2018.
Yeah, 2018. What I remember from 2018 about the drag scene. Oh gosh. It was fine for what it was for when we had the shows every so often. And we had that one gay bar way north of Moorhead for the Sanctuary. I'm pretty sure it was called the Sanctuary.
I think it was called the Sanctuary. And I think, was it open for like 2 years?
I was not open for very long. No. I went to like 2 shows there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so from the swing of that, all of a sudden into like doing shows more frequently, like once a month. You know, there was a couple troops in 2018, and then there was another one in 2019, and then one dropped, and then we got 2 more, and then we dropped 3, you know, the back and forth of all that. But the swing and progression of like 2018 going up through all the years, and with all the entertainers in town, you know, new and old, that have been doing it for 6-7 years at this point versus who have been like just picked it up a couple weeks ago. It's just a community for everyone to kind of get involved in, you know? It's fun to go to Pride in the Park in full drag because regardless if I know anybody, somebody knows me. And as vain as that sounds, it's like representation being there, you know? So it's very nice being a part of the drag community here and being like a staple of that community because people know that they're safe around me, which I translate into my business practice as well with like completely, I'm a queer-owned business. If I'm not a safe space, you know what I mean? Like, why am I a queer-owned business then?
So stop there for a moment. What does it mean to be in a safe space?
Let me paint a picture for you.
Please.
If I am at the shop, you know, getting somebody checked in and this person is non-binary or they're very queer, outwardly queer, whatever the case is on there. And like if one of the guys getting tattooed like walked by and would have said something under their breath, I immediately, without a doubt, would have went to that artist and I said, I will pay you for the rest of your time. This man is not getting tattooed anymore today. You do not get to walk into my house and shit on me and tell me how things are done when it is my house. I'm very protective of the people in my life, in the community in my life. I've worked so hard to get to the person that I am today, and I'm not going to let anybody walk in anybody else's parade or ruin anybody else's parade because of that. I don't care if you feel so entitled that you need to have your opinions out there for the world or whatever. I do not care. I will I will do everything in my power to stop you from getting what you want in this immediate situation. You can't just walk in my house and take a shit on me. That's not how it's going to work. And then have no repercussions afterwards. That's not how it works.
Let's talk about the future. What's the future of Honey?
Oh gosh. So it's actually interesting. I don't like to live my life online. I'm a very much like, I've always said this for years and think of what you will of it. I'm like, Honey is a very much an in-person experience. If you see videos of me performing, yeah, they're great. But like, it's so much better going to like the live show and actually like witnessing what's going on, you know? So I don't do a lot of pictures, even in my personal life on my personal Facebook. Like I don't post a lot other than like when I graduated college in 2019, you know, like I posted about that, you know, the good stuff. But as far as pictures of me, I just don't post a lot. So what's in the future for Honey though? And for Carter and Honey in that regard, I'm getting into my digital era, which is interesting. One of my banes of my existence with my business is like having to post on social media. You know, you take the picture, you edit the picture, you got to post it, you got to time it, you got to like caption it, hashtag it at certain times of the day when the moon's just right and there's like a fire going on somewhere. You know, it's going to be very particular, right? But me, my future, I'm getting into more of my digital era. So taking more pictures, getting into drag more often just to have fun with it rather than like, I've never viewed drag as a job. And I feel like I'm fortunate that I don't have to view it as a job. It's very much an expensive hobby. But now that we're doing like more photo shoots and we're starting this like little production stuff and we're wanting to do better for ourselves and like better for the drag community and everything, I get to be online more often. So actually posting on what I'm up to is going to be really fun. And then even me for Carter, what's in the future for me. I think Fargo is a great place to get all your ducks in order. And it's a great place to secure your finances, secure education, experience, whatever the case may be. I feel like for the past several years now, I have farly outstayed my welcome in Fargo. And not like that I'm not welcome here anymore, but it's just like, what more does this town have to offer me? You know, I'm hoping in the next several years to get married, move out of state. Hey, East Coast, take me. And just like live and see what else life has in store for me. You know, I want to talk a little bit about really quick about like pillars of support and everything. I think I mentioned it earlier. I feel like I am a big pillar of support for a lot of people. And oftentimes when a lot of turmoil and tragedies happen in my life, I feel like the pillar needs a little support. You know what I mean? I need a flying buttress. If you know architecture.
I do. I'm very familiar with the flying buttress.
As you should be. But I feel like I need one of those sometime. You know, being a big pillar of support, I need to get like the extra supports on top, you know. And I oftentimes don't think that in communities that I have that I am able to receive that full support when I'm struggling. However, I have found someone, well, it's been like 4 years now, but I have found someone that I'm able to kind of let my guard down around and have them kind of pick me up when I'm feeling really low.
Can you tell me more about that?
Taylor, this is for you. I'm getting choked up right now. Taylor, I love you so much. And everything that you do for me. When I am feeling so weak and I can't pick myself up, you're always there. And even when you're having a hard time, you're always making sure that I'm there to be picked up as well. And I'm taken care of. And I feel that although I am a very, very strong person, I still have my weak moments. Taylor, will you marry me? Like truthfully and honest to God, will you please marry me? I know we've talked about marriage and I've never really been able to give you this like big hurrah. I would really, really, really love if you became my husband. Taylor, I love you so much. I'm literally crying so much right now.
First of all, amazing. I want to find the sound effect. So we may have to go through a couple of these if they're not the right one. Oh, wait, that's not right.
That was the right
one. It's the right one. Okay, so we've never had a proposal on Pride Stories, the podcast. So this feels very exciting. Also feels like we need to figure out the logistics when inevitably Taylor's going to say yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you need to give a full report so we can like insert it into this as well.
I'm going to have to do that. Yeah. I'll see if I can. I have like one of those little phone mic boom things that I'll just be like, I'll just very casually, nonchalantly listen, have it on my lapel. Right. But yeah, I don't know. Taylor, I just love them so much.
You kind of talked about why you love them. Why forever?
I've been in a relationship a time or two in my life. I've been the issue in relationships. I've been, the one trying to fix everything in the relationships and everything. I can genuinely say that in any other relationship I've been in, I've like always been able to envision myself not being with them. And like, I'm totally fine. Right. Like, yeah, like if things go bad, like whatever, but you got yourself. Right. With as long as I've been with Taylor and all the traumatic experiences we've been through together, it's not something in my head that is like, I can easily see or want to see not being with Taylor. Anytime we have a disagreement or an argument on something, I am able to sit down and say like, hey, with positive and good boundaries and everything, be like, hey, I didn't like that you did this to me. This made me feel this way. And Taylor goes, oh, I'm so sorry. That was not my intention. I'll work on it in the future. But like, let's talk about it some more. And we sit and talk about it. And now all of a sudden, an argument that in a past relationship would have been like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's done in 15 minutes. And then you sit there going, I feel like there should be more to this. You know what I mean? So I feel like Taylor's always got my back in everything that I do, and anything that I, even right now with like my streaming stuff, Taylor's like, yeah, I think you'd be really good at that. I think it'd be really fun. And matter of fact, like I might want to do it. And then with my drag stuff and like starting this new little production stuff, they're always supportive in everything I'm doing, and me likewise for them too and everything they're doing. So I've never felt a love or found a love like I've had for Taylor in my several years of dating history. And it's so curious because like the way we started everything as well, it was just Taylor and I started in a polyamorous relationship with a third person, right? We were all together for like 3 years. Fortunately, things didn't work out, but then Taylor and I were still together. Being friends with Taylor with like no expectations of what this could become. And then for it to just so naturally evolve into this was so, so wonderful. Super unexpected. And also, who thinks you're going to find a polyamorous relationship in Fargo, North Dakota, of all places, you know what I mean? But to like find that love and like be there for that person consistently with like no waiver of like, if is this not going to work? You know what I mean? I think maybe that's what I wanted to say earlier, instead of like, can never envision myself with them. I've never not envisioned myself without them. So like when I think about my future and like where I'm at, I'm in the East Coast, piercing my heart out and doing drag. Meanwhile, I come back home and Taylor and I are playing video games on the couch. You know what I mean? And that's in, I don't know, 2030, 2035. I don't even know. Is it
2020?
2020. We got that 2020 vision.
I saw, I don't know if it was a YouTube video or a TikTok just not so long ago. And It was something along the lines of when you find the right person, when you find your person, it doesn't matter if you say the right thing because everything is the right thing.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter what you say, how you say it, and those types of things because they will understand.
Yeah.
They will forgive. They will be there for you. They will be ready to apologize. They will because the relationship is so important. And I think that creates a really beautiful through line from how we started this conversation, talking about your parents and your brother and your relationship with them, where it doesn't matter who Carter was. It matters who Carter is.
Yeah. And
they choose you. And Taylor chooses you every day, and you get to choose Taylor every day.
You made me cry again, Max.
Well,
it is true. It is.
It's a beautiful through line,
yeah.
And I think it's inspirational, and it's also aspirational for people that maybe don't believe that they deserve that. Because there's a lot of people in our community that don't believe that they deserve love from their family, don't deserve love from their church, don't deserve love from their a significant other.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to them?
I would say that everyone deserves love. If you don't think that you deserve love, you do deserve love. I mean, that's what not only friendships are, but intimate personal relationships and relationships you have with your family, so just because it was something that you're so trained and conditioned to not receiving doesn't mean that you're not worthy or not valid of receiving, you know what I mean? And there's work that you got to put into it as well. It's not just something that, love is something that you get, should be getting unconditional from, your friends and your family, but there's also a certain level of working for it. And I say this in regards to my dad and my brother growing up versus my dad and my brother now. It's that I knew that these relationships in my life were not the strongest, and I wanted to strengthen those relationships. And so the only thing in regards to strengthen that relationship is to go out and strengthen that relationship, whether it's I'm going skydiving with your dad for Father's Day. I didn't go yesterday, but I'm going in a couple weeks or in a month or so with my dad. So things like that, you know what I mean? He's always wanted to go. I've always wanted to go. And I'm you know what? Father-son bonding experience. This would be great. So,
well, what's really powerful in what you just said is that unconditional love doesn't mean that it's not hard work.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you don't have to put in the effort. You are 100% responsible for your 50%.
Yes.
Right. And putting in the work, putting in the effort also tells the other person that you care about them. And if they're not meeting that, that's their problem.
I would say there's the other flip half of that. I think we touched base on that earlier about essentially a boundary being put into place. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer in boundaries. 2024 has been an experience thus far, but it's transformative, and it's helping me teach myself a lot about boundaries and allowing grace for other people and allowing grace for myself. But in situations like that, if you're so conditioned to not receiving that love, and so the way that you're countering that is by overpouring, and that person's just yo, that's a lot. I think it's important to understand if you feel you're doing too much, but not necessarily just the sense of feeling you're doing too much, but if you are noticing that that other person is not picking up that 50%, are you pouring into this cup so much that because you want it to be full, or are you pouring into this cup because you both want it to be full? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Powerful advice.
That's what'd you call it earlier? Your 10-cent psychiatry hat or something?
Oh yeah. My dime store psychology hat.
Dime store psychology hat.
Absolutely. My dime store psychology degree. Carter, thank you so much for joining us on Pride Stories, the podcast, as Carter.
Thank you so much for having me.
I, for one, so appreciate you coming on and sharing, in addition to Honey, sharing Carter, because what I noticed is we got so much deeper. We have so many more real, authentic conversations when you got to kind of take off the eyelashes and the persona. They were fabulous.
Thank you.
But, I think it's really important as we kind of wrap up Pride Month that we encourage folks to, shed the drag a little bit to bring out your authentic stories, and then put that drag right back on to do the catwalk.
Which I want to add to that.
Yeah.
Drag queens are people too. They have feelings.
What?
Just like,
weird. God, finish that thought.
No, that was just being silly.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know.
Drag queens have feelings too, right? We'll shed our skin, we cry, and then we put it back on, and we're like bad, fierce bitches that don't cry. Just kidding. You can cry if you want to. Crying does not make you weak.
Amen. Carter, thanks again for joining us on Pride Stories, the podcast. Where can people find you?
Alrighty, folks. So if you want to get...
Oh my God, why did you intro it like an old-timey radio voice? All right, folks, here's where you're going to find us.
That's all, folks. Was it in Porky Pig? I'll do that. No. Alrighty. You can find me at my socials if you want to see some gay shit, legal gay shit. You can jump to my drag Instagram at Honeybee Mine. Also on Twitch, playing some video games. So if you'd like to chill, relax, follow my stuff on Instagram, which is linked with Twitch at Honeybee Mine. And if you'd like to get a piercing by me, you can follow me on my piercing Instagram at Piercings by Honey. Or if you'd like to jump to the Addictions website, addictionstattoo.com, there is an online booking feature. Just type in the comments, "Hey girly, I heard you on that podcast, XOXO," and I will know where you came from.
I also love that I think you're the first guest to like look directly at the camera and be like, "Well, here's how you find me." Girl knows how to work.
I know my camera. I know my angles are.
All right, friend. Thank you. And go see Honey and go invest in your relationships. Also, and give us a oh my God, what now?
I just have... I'm so sorry.
Love many times we've ended this. Go.
It's the Midwest goodbye, right?
Oh my God.
Right, it is. It totally is. Well, I gotta go.
Okay.
If you'd like to see me perform, Cyber and I are putting on a show at the Aquarium, July 12th. I don't know what time it starts. We haven't selected the time yet, but it's like a little dance event, but I'll be there.
Is it going to start on drag time? So you put like 8:00 and it actually starts at 10:30.
See, I tell you, drag
because
time,
I'm old and I can't stay up that late.
Drag time on my time starts when it starts.
Okay.
I'm type A, bitch. We're starting and we're starting at whenever I say we're starting is when we're going. But if you want to see me do some drag, do some pretty drag, please go to the... there's no plug for it. She doesn't have a Facebook page.
Don't worry, we'll put the links in
She'll take it under there.
We'll put the links in there. All right, on that note, we gotta wrap this thing up. This is the longest Pride story ever. My
car's still running. I gotta go.
I gotta go. All right. Bye, Honey. Bye, Carter. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Pride Stories, the podcast. I'm your host, Max Kringen, and it's been an honor to bring this story to your ears. Pride Stories is proudly presented by Tellwell Story Co. and Studio. We have an incredible team that makes this podcast possible every single week. If you've been inspired, moved, or entertained by anything you've heard in this episode, please consider supporting our mission. You can do that by subscribing to the podcast, leave a 5-star review, or simply share it with a friend or family member. Your support helps keep the stories alive and resonating. And if you feel compelled to share your own Pride story, we'd be honored to listen. Please visit the link in the description of this episode to get in touch. No matter where you are in your journey, whether you're out and proud or just finding your voice, remember, you have a story to tell and it deserves to be heard.